Okay, how's that? We better? We're on now. Cool. All right, so what I was just saying was that some people have been tuning in um, to the replays. And so what we're doing is I was just going to go through here quickly and show you the Energetic Arts library where you can get to the replays. So if we're on the home page, and you want to catch up on a replay, you can always go to the library page, which is found under the webinars tab, and you'll have all the past webinar training sessions that we've had, and they'll be updated each week. And note here how you have an AM and a PM. That doesn't mean you have to tune in at AM or PM session. They're evergreen training sessions. It just means that there were 2 that day. I do 2 sessions per day, and although it's the same topic, it's going to come out as being slightly different. Okay, and so it's kind of worth it to jump in on a second session if you're needing a bit more clarification, or if you're needing to just hear the topic in a different way, because maybe it just bounced off or it didn't land. And sometimes, depending on who's there at the live event, I can go into it in a different way. And that's part of the skills that I want you guys to learn, is that when we address a topic, we're not doing it just from my point of view or Energetic Arts point of view. You're not here to learn my way or Energetic Arts way. You're here to just get an example and find, as many ways as possible to enter into that subject. So, yeah, if we're talking in terms of a computer, instead of just learning a program that I've created for you, you're going to learn that as well, but you're going to learn how it works and why it works that way, so you can create your own stuff as well. Create your own products and services if you're a practitioner, or just create your own tools if you're a student and wanting to change your life in whatever way you want. So that was a bit of housekeeping. The other thing I'm going to do from now on, because people are jumping into the replays because they can't get onto the live streams all the time, is I'm going to start opening up the way I speak to address people who will be coming on in a different time space. This is a 5D training space, so it's not just about people who are here in physical space-time as well. So if you have any questions or anything you're not sure about that you want clarification on, if you're in the live feed, just type it in the chat and I'll see it and I'll address it as best I can, if it's on topic. And also if you want to go to the Facebook page and post up there, or the Energetic Arts Facebook community, you can post there and I'll see it, or send me an email. It's up to you, whichever way you want to do it. And I'll do my best to inject them into the upcoming sessions. So anyway, moving on. Hyperreality and simulations. So the word, I just went here before, the word hyper, basically on Google is hyperactive or unusually energetic, over, beyond, above, excessive, above normal. So we want to focus on the above normal part, and what we're going to do is we're going to create spaces, sets, and settings inside the mind in which we can rehearse certain outcomes that we want to manifest. Okay, and not just outcomes in terms of I want to make more money, or I want to lose weight, or I want to quit smoking, or, um, I want that great job or that partner or that new house. We're also going to delve into new abilities and new ways to perceive our reality. Because as we move from a third dimensional space into a fifth dimensional space, the physics change and what we can and can't do change dramatically. And so, to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, there's been a lot of movies throughout, the last couple of decades, addressing this subject. But the most recent one was Steven Spielberg's film Ready Player One, where it was all about people who were escaping into this place called the Oasis, and they're all it's all a virtual reality world, and in that world there's lots of things that because it's a computer simulation, there's lots of things that we can do in that space that you can't necessarily do in a physical 3D space. And so what I've noticed through some research also is that people whose minds have been strengthened in a particular way and reinforced in a particular way to believe certain things has a very real effect on the physical reality. And these people, we've referred to as having extrasensory perception, or being psychic, or having reserved human abilities. And one thing I've learned in the last year, doing all these attending all these workshops and doing all these brain scans and deep meditations, is that it doesn't take a lot for you to become supernatural and to be classed as a supernatural being outside the 3 standard deviations above or below normal. It just takes a little bit of training. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to start to delve into the mind, into that 5th dimensional space. And I'm going to just give you some instructions on how you can start to construct spaces and how you can change the mind to accept new possibilities and new realities. And so, to give you an idea of what I mean by that, is that years ago, probably about 5 years ago now, I was doing a lot of experimenting, a lot of training with a friend of mine who we'd been training partners since we were teenagers, since we were kids. And he was really into the idea of lucid dreaming. He really wanted to be able to lucid dream because he knew that if he could wake up within the dream, that he could start to do pretty much anything in it and with it. And so what he would do is he'd do a lot of what we call dream incubation. And so in his room, he was into comic books and superheroes, and his whole thing is he wanted to be able to lucidly wake up in the dream and start to fly. And so what we worked out over the course of lots of practice is that if you put in lots of suggestions into your physical space for them and lots of material for the mind to start to work with, then it will start to construct a neural net in the mind, or a state of mind, where you can begin to accept new possibilities, like being able to fly. And it usually starts off in the dream state. And so what he would do is he would put all these comic books all over his wall. He'd have pictures of Superman everywhere. We called them visualizations back then, not meditations. He would start to imagine himself flying through the sky. He would play the soundtrack to Superman, once or twice a day, or whenever he felt like it. And we would also, do things like try and simulate the experience of flying however we could. And then by having that trained into the mind, and also doing reality checks, and this is a really good tool you can use all the time, is just when you can, remember, catch yourself in a seemingly very normal moment and just ask yourself if you're dreaming. And then he would, one of these keys is he'd look at his hands and he'd say, am I dreaming? And start to pay attention to the possibility that these could be just dream hands. And what that does is it puts the mind in a place where it can start to accept new things that seemingly aren't possible in a third dimensional space, because reality and physics don't allow for it. And so once he was training this into play, within a few weeks, it didn't take very much time, in just training this in, he started to have dreams where he was flying. And of course, all the feelings go with that. And then the feelings the brain starts to track that and remember it. And then the body starts to reproduce those feelings through waking life. And so, he was at least feeling like he was flying around in his life every now and then. And when it came to training and sport, you could literally see when he was starting to tap into this part of the mind, because all this weird and wacky stuff started to happen, and he would start to pull off all these amazing moves and plays that you shouldn't really be able to do. And crazy stuff started to happen, like the ball would bounce off him and hit 3 players and then come back right into his lap, sort of thing. And it's just weird stuff that you think, what's going on here? That shouldn't be able to happen. So slowly but surely, the transition between the dream world and the real world, you could start to see things starting to warp and change. Now, the theory is that if he kept going with this and really practiced it, then there's a very real possibility that the mind could override the current coding of the physical reality, and potentially he could start to levitate. And so we've heard stories about this, from monks in the Himalayas who sit in, hours and hours of meditation, and they start to lift off and, float off the ground. Or what's more likely, and probably a lot easier, is that you can start to learn astral projection and remote viewing. And so there's a little Easter egg for you if you wanted to start to research a different topic. Remote viewing, astral projection, lucid dreaming. This is sort of the setup for that. So once again, hopefully you've got your notepad out and your pen and your blindfolds. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to start to get straight into it. So get relaxed, get comfortable. I'm going to start to play some music. We're going to dive in, start to create a few different spaces, and then we're going to do a few different things in the spaces just to rehearse. Don't worry if you're struggling to create these at first. It's like learning a new language or a new skill or a new exercise. If you're training in the gym, it's just going to take a little bit of practice. But, you've got the video now, you can go over it as many times as you like. So here we go. Get comfortable. Get your body posture into a position where the energy can move easily through your system. Take a deep breath in close your eyes and relax. Breathing, relaxing. Deeper, calmer, slower. More relaxed. Bring your awareness into the center of your chest. Breathe and relax. And begin to feel the uniting of opposites, meeting in the bridge, in the center of your chest. And with each breath, feel the softness of the energy moving throughout your body. Into every cell, in every way. And just relax as deeply as you can. Allowing all those thoughts and memories and emotions to dissolve, to melt, allow the unconscious mind to organize them and put them away in the right place and in the right time. And you can relax now, knowing that whatever it is that you need to know will come to you just when it needs to. But for now, just relax, let go, and get into the flow. And to begin with, we're going going to start with a clean slate. So move into the space behind your eyes. In the center of your head. And become aware of the big black open space that goes on forever in all directions, space and time. And in this space of no space, and in this time of no time, you can begin to feel the freedom of what this place in space allows you to do. And in this space, and in this place, you can become aware of the limitlessness of this realm, of this state, of this mind. Feel the freedom in your body, being able to do everything and anything that's seemingly been kept from you. And if you can just allow for a moment all those thoughts and feelings of all those things that in your heart of hearts you've dreamed and wished you could be able to do, perhaps in a future that always seemed out of reach. Or in a place where the rules were different, and that if you could only find your way there, that perhaps it could become real for you. And so before we can begin to really safely create and experience those experiences, let's first begin by tapping in to the feelings of love. Let's begin by centering in on the feeling of love for yourself, for someone, for some place, for some time. And as we begin to access that feeling of love, notice that in this space, between space, and in this time, between time, that we can access not only our connections and memories of love, but we can connect with all memories and feelings of love. Every time anyone has fallen in love, tap into that collective consciousness of love. And allow yourself to feel as much love as you possibly can. Just allow yourself to fall deeply into love. Feel the feelings inside your body, inside your mind, and inside your energy. Give yourself permission to feel love outside the limitations, outside the expectations. Of what you're used to in your past. Open up to new ways of feeling those feelings of love. And just allow that feeling to flood your body. Now, from this state of being haven't already, allow your mind to construct a place, an environment, and a space that most aligns with you to feel this feeling of feeling love. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? What does it taste like? Who's there with you? Is anyone there with you? What are you doing? Are you doing anything? Stay with the feeling of being in love. And ride the wave of this newly constructed reality. Allow yourself to let go completely and explore this space, this place, and this time. How do you think? How do you feel? How do you move? Breathe deep now and relax into that feeling even more. Allow the feeling to increase gently, safely. And feel the comfort and relaxation. Being able to allow it to catch you. Really relax now even more. Allow your mind to take flight into a new space, even more aligned with those feelings of feeling in love. For yourself, for someone, for something, for some place. For some time. Feel your energy align where are you? What are you doing? Who are you with? Pay attention to how it is that you feel. Stay with it now. Lean into it. Give in to the feeling. Let go of limitations. Let go of insecurities. Let go of inhibitions. Let go of expectations. In this space, in this place, it's just you. It's all you. And here you can be, do, and have anything that you want. It doesn't have to be good for anyone else except for you. Can you float in this feeling? And allow yourself to move in ways you haven't moved before. Think in ways you haven't thought before. And give yourself permission to feel how you haven't felt before. Just lean into it. Explore it. Take the chance to have a new adventure. Giving in and allowing all those things that have held you back from yourself to dissolve, to be released, and to simply melt away. And allow all that new energy to take its place. Now from here, I'm going to go one step further. And if you could do anything, and I mean anything from this place, and all the rules of physics could be suspended. You could move into that state of being the dreamer, dreaming the dream. What abilities would you have that you wouldn't necessarily have in what we call the real world? Would you just lift off the ground and begin to fly? Perhaps you'd travel through time. Maybe you'd read someone's mind. Maybe you'd move things around without the need to touch them. Perhaps you'd create whole new worlds just through your imagination. What is it that you've always longed to do? Play with your abilities now in this place of your own construction. While you're doing this, just allow yourself to receive guidance. Let it show up in whichever way is right for you. And allow its message to be heard. What's it saying? What's it wanting to show you? What is it that it wants you to know? Now, one last thing while we're here. I want you to pick a dream object to create in this space. It can be anything that you want. Something not so common. Something personal to you. It can be anything. Pick something now and create this object in your dream space. Out in front of you. Let's say arm's length. See it in as much detail as you possibly can. Rotate it. Turn it. Look at it from every angle. And pay attention to how your mind creates this object. And notice that the more you focus upon it, the more detailed it becomes. And the more detailed it becomes, the more real it begins to feel. Touch it now. Feel its texture. Feel its temperature. And now let it just float in space out in front of you, rotating so you can see it from every angle. This is your dream object. I want you to remember this object. Think about it from time to time throughout the rest of your week. This object is going to be a symbol. Symbol of how powerful your mind really is. And so don't blame me or be surprised when it shows up in your reality in various ways, shapes, and forms. Some really obvious, blatant, and in your face, so where you can't ignore your ability to create and manifest into your reality. And others, subtle, sublime, and not so obvious, to the degree where you may just have to connect the dots inside your mind all by yourself. It might even be a little bit of a stretch for the imagination. But whatever shape or form it takes, you have complete permission to take on any and all of those moments. To acknowledge and reinforce the belief that not only can you create your own realities, your hyper realities and simulations, to practice feeling, thinking, being, and doing absolutely anything but that you can also ground them into the real world, into your third dimensional realm of experience. So remember your object from time to time, from moment to moment. And make sure to remember and to acknowledge in all the weird, wacky, and wonderful ways it will show up for you. Slowly now, gently now, bring your awareness back to your body, back to your mind, back to this place, back to this space, and back to this new time. Bring your energy all the way back to your body, from the top of your head to the ends of your toes, to the tips of your fingers, to the tip of your nose. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Come back now. Move your body, stretch, let that energy reorganize and reconfigure your body and your mind. Tune into that new frequency. Give it time to manifest. And when you can, just check in on the chat. Make sure you're back. Experience how you feel. And write down or draw a picture as best you can of what your dream object is. Make note of what your space was, who was there, what you were doing, and any new abilities that you're able to do in that place, in that space. Just write them down. Point form is fine. So, how did you feel? What did you experience? Do you have any questions? And so, while I'm waiting for that to happen, I'm just going to talk a little bit about an experience that I had where I did this similar type of exercise. And my objects were, I picked animals because I like animal totems, and I found that really simple. It was part of my mind that was accepting that I could see animals in my reality really simply. And so I started off with a fox, and then I moved on to other animals. But the funny thing is that at first the fox didn't appear straight away in the ways I thought it would. It would turn up as little tiny logos or the word fox, or I'd see women with bright red hair that I really wouldn't have noticed before, but now I do because I'm searching for the red hair on the fox. And then maybe I'd see a picture of it somewhere, or I'd see a stuffed toy, or I'd see a little statue or a mask of a fox, or at first it was very subtle, and then all of a sudden it became very blatant, became so blatant to the point where the actual picture that I drew and what I saw in my mind was actually on a billboard, and it was everywhere. It wasn't just one billboard. It was one of those marketing campaigns that was all over the country. And this was in a place where I couldn't have possibly, convince myself that it was me doing it. It was a new country. I was speaking, people were speaking a different language. I wasn't familiar with the area at all. And these foxes just appeared. They didn't just appear everywhere randomly. They appeared when I was on the right track, when I was tuned into that feeling of being in that space. And so I didn't have to look for it. It just turned up when I was in the right energetic signature, the right frequency. And so here's the thing, guys, is that feeling first. You have to get the feeling first before you can start to slip into that slipstream of that multi-dimensional reality manifesting in your third dimensional space. When you do that, life becomes really magical, becomes really lucid, becomes that hyper reality that I'm talking about, where although everything is very real, there's a very unreal feeling about it in terms of how malleable it is. It becomes very pliable, and you start to really tune into the belief that gets reinforced that your thoughts and feelings, your alignment, and what you project out is actually being created into your reality. And I'll just give you a little bit of a warning. Take your time with it and go easy, because things can ramp up very quickly. The manifestations can stack up so quickly that it can get out of hand, and you can start to get a bit wigged out by it. So when that happens, just chill out, relax, come back, touch something solid, ground yourself, and you can always go back to it and get up to that level and beyond again. But each time we do this, it's just like training the body. You go into the gym, you work the muscle out, you go to the point of failure where you can't go any further, you get sore for a few days or a week, and then becomes your new normal, and then you can go again. All right. So do we have any questions before we wrap up today? No questions. All right then. All right, so just a bit of a heads up. So obviously there's another session happening in my time tonight in about 12 hours. We're going to be going over the same topic, but obviously it's going to be done a little bit differently. We're going to try things in a slightly different way. Obviously we're doing different things in the space, maybe activating different abilities this time. So if you're up for it, we'll see you then. If not, that's fine. Remember the library there. The replays are always available to you. You can just go in there, register like you normally do. You get on board, and you can go back to those as many times as you like. It's completely unlimited. Okay, you can watch those every day for the rest of your life if you wanted to. Make it part of your regular training regime. The other thing is, if you haven't done it already, obviously on the website there's a tag there, meditations. Get onto there, download those meditations. If you've got an iTunes account or a Spotify account, it's free. And these are slightly different. What I've done is I've split them up into tracks, so it's not just one complete meditation. And here's how I would suggest you use them. First off, you start just by listening to the 20-minute completed track. Get used to the sounds, get used to the instructions, get used to using it. And then once that feels comfortable for you, you can always start to mix and match and create your own playlists. So what I've found is that some people, when they start out, It's really great that they're getting into meditation, but then they get to the point where it becomes too easy. You know, it's like those people who do swimming, you know, for fitness, and you know they're still big like whales, but they swim for like 10 kilometers a day and just become too efficient at the exercise, which is a good thing. But to progress, you need to throw yourself little challenges, not massive ones that freak you out or cause you damage, but ones that just keep you in that sweet spot of progressing and growing nice and gently at a good pace that you can do the rest of your life. And so, what you can do is you can start to split up the tracks, you can start to extend the music, either several loops or in between each track. And the basic structure I'd suggest you start with is like in a diving situation where you're on the surface, you have the introduction, you have your diving track, and then you have the body, and then you also have a music track which you can lengthen each of these stages. And then once you get into that body and you can stack bodies together, then you have a kick track which kicks you out of the meditation, and then you know the ending, the outro. Okay, so that's the basic dive of a meditation. I wouldn't suggest coming up and down too much unless that's what you're particularly training for, is to go in and out of states. But if you want to go in, make some changes down here, um, install some new ideas, some new suggestions, some new ways of thinking, being, feelings. This is a good place to do it once you're down in a nice deep state. And then once you've done your work, then you kick out nice and gently and come out. Once you come out of a meditation, give yourself some time to adjust. Don't go jumping straight back in again. If we take the diving metaphor one step further, you know, there's a lot, you know, there's compression and decompression going on, and we need to become aware of that happens energetically too. All right, so make sure you do your safety stops in between, especially when we're doing stuff like manifesting and activating new abilities and creating new realities just like this. The object is, and please don't do this, is that now you know where you want to go and who you want to be and what you want to do. Don't go deconstructing your physical reality and cutting your life to pieces. That's not the way to do it. Stay with where you are. I know there's going to be things out there that you're not wanting to participate with or deal with anymore. That's fine. Keep going back to the state and the energy, and what you will see is that your reality will warp and change around you without any physical effort. All right, there may be things you need to do to meet with those changes, but don't go in there cutting it all out. All right, it's a bit like medical practitioner. You know, if someone's sick, you don't go in there straight away and start operating and cutting pieces out of the person. Maybe it's a dietary change, maybe it's just an attitude change, maybe it's an environmental change. And so become an experimenter with your own life, and make sure you, this is why I said the notepad, keep track of what you're doing and what changes and what works and what doesn't, because what you're going to be doing is developing your own tool set and your own methodology. And when you arrive at that new reality that has been manifested around you through thought and feeling alone, then you're going to know exactly how you did it, and you're going to be able to do it again and again and again. And so here's the thing, you know, once you've been doing this for a while, it's not about where you end up or what you create. It's about your skill level in being able to do that, being able to go from one place to another, from anywhere to anywhere. And it's all about who you become and what your skill level is, because And in the end of the day, it doesn't, one place is pretty similar to the other. And as long as you're feeling good and feeling the way you want to feel, and you're being and doing what you want, then, it doesn't really matter too much. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Like I said, if you have any questions, email me. Use the Energetic Arts community page on Facebook. Use the Energetic Arts page on Facebook. And yeah, stay safe, guys. Take it easy. There's plenty of time. There's all the time in the world to get all this done. And I'll just leave you this one last story just to nail this point home on your approach and how to do this safely. I once heard a story about Lawrence, what's his name? The guy that played Lawrence of Arabia. I can't remember his name. Anyway, you know who I'm talking about. Lawrence of Arabia, the famous 4-hour, half-hour movie, whatever. And so the actor in his, towards the end of his career was having his like farewell performance in theatre on stage, and people from all over the world came to see him. They were paying exorbitant amounts for their ticket price, and he was really at the top of his game. And at the end of the performance, everyone had this massive standing ovation, and it wasn't just because it was his last performance. It was because it was a brilliant performance. It was the culmination of all those years of experience and expressed in that moment. And so after the performance, his assistant went into his dressing room and expecting to find him, sitting back and being all pleased with himself. And instead, the whole room was being torn apart. He was throwing things across the room and breaking glasses and, throwing the chair, and he was in a complete outrage. And they said, "Sir, what are you doing? It was an amazing performance. Everyone loved it. It was, you've never had a reaction like that before in your whole career. And, what's going on?" And he's turned around and he said, "Yes, you're right. It was a brilliant performance, and I did get the response I was looking for, but I don't know why." And so it's important to know how you do it, why it happens that way. Like I said, it's a skill. This isn't about manifesting the new car or the new house or the more money or the new car or the relationship or whatever it is. It's about knowing how to do it and to do it predictably. So if you can get this down, and practice this skill and lock it in and master it, then, you can make your $1 million, and then you can lose it the next day, and then you can make it again, or you can make it 10 times over. It doesn't mean anything to you once you have the ability. All right, so I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for coming. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for getting the replays and for spreading the word and sharing this. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all of you participating and believing in me and believing in what we're doing, and not just believing, but actually knowing it by participating in and living it and being it. So thank you all, and I'll see you very, very soon. Bye.